The Lodash Memoize function is a fantastic way to uh, implement Memoize function without writing out a whole lot of code at the cost of using a large library at execution time. The aim of my video is to give you a practical Memoize function that you can use in your everyday app. Like for example, to use in Redux. If your Redux app, you need a Memoize function to maybe for your in your actions, in your Redux action. Okay. It's not too terribly bad. It's only about 10 lines of code or so. And you can modify it to your own needs. Okay. I'm also going to try to break down the Memoize concept in an easy blue collar kind of way. There are many wonderful articles written about memoizations. There are also many fantastic videos on YouTube about memoizing, and they're fantastic for the most part. However, they don't give you anything practical to use. A lot of it uses the Fibonacci sequence, which is great, but it's not really practical in your everyday app. So let's begin. For those of you who don't like listening to me talk for 10 minutes, here's the code. Okay, you good? Hopefully you paused the video and typed down my code. For those of you that want to follow along, let's roll. So to conceptualize memoization, let's say that you are based at Winterfell Castle, and you are defending humanity against the forces of the Night King. You are stationed along the north wall of the castle, along this rampart here, where my cursor is moving back and forth. Okay, and let's say that the supply quartermaster is located in this building here, where my cursor is circling. You obviously will need to have battle supply move from the quartermaster to the rampart, right? So you will have to make at least one trip back here to take out, load up on dragon glass, Valerian steel, and a few barrels of Gatorade for hydration during the battle, and perhaps a barrel of single malt scotch for motivation. So you would make one trip to get all the supplies that you need and then cache it along the rampart, along your battle station. So that when you need it, it's right there. So you don't have to iteratively go back and forth or recursively go back and forth to fetch dragon glass every time you need dragon glass because you already have it here. Okay, so essentially that's what memoization is to cache what you need so that you can optimize your workflow to make it more efficient. Okay, and conversely, memoization can also be referred to as optimization, right? Let me give you one more example. Yeah, I know, that's Tom Brady. Some of you guys are wanting to throw a brick at the monitor right now, but please refrain from doing that. Unless, of course, you have a really crappy monitor. So, do you see this armband here with the plays, with the coded plays written down? This is a form of memoization as well. It is a collection of knowledge that's cached or written down on a piece of paper that he can access whenever he needs a piece of that knowledge, right? Obviously, they're very practiced, these plays, during the practice, because in a live football game, you only have 30 seconds between each play to run your next play. You don't want to be running back and forth to the sideline to talk to your coaches. that will burn your time out. So you want to run the next play quickly to keep your offense rolling. So you refer to this Memoize cache of plays here on your wrist to get your offense rolling. Okay, so it's again, you don't want to be running back and forth to the quartermaster to get what you need. You want to go just one time and then get what you need and stage it, and then you need Dragon Glass and Valerian Steel again. You can use what you have already, right? And that's the basic concept of memoization in a blue collar kind of way. Okay, now let's look at the code. Now, my code really isn't any different than what you see on the web or on YouTube. Perhaps a little bit more practical, maybe. But let's go to the code. So one of the beauty of JavaScript is that it treats function as first-class citizens. Therefore, you can pass a function as a parameter. And then you can, when you invoke the function, you can use another function as its argument, right? First-class citizens, because of the function type. I think where my code might be a little bit different than other people's code is that I'm using a JavaScript map data structure instead of an array. Now, array is fine, but if you don't know memoization, it's going to be hard to conceptualize. And the object literal is great too, but object literal, you potentially could have duplicate keys. With the map, it enforces unique keys, okay? And here is the MDN article regarding the map data structure. And I'm calling it a data structure just out of habit. But really, in JavaScript, everything is an object except for the primitives, right? So it's referred to as an object. And as you can see here, the map has many wonderful properties and methods on it. Okay, I will include this link in the description. And so we are going to return an anonymous closure. Now you could have a sorry, lost my train of thought there for a minute. You can essentially have a name function expression here if you like. For example, you can do something like const bacon, and then you could return bacon. All right, something like that. But I'm going to stick to the closure pattern here. So the beauty of the closure pattern is that this closure in here will have access to the cache, obviously, right? And then it can also have access to the argument object of the outside function once you call the function that you pass into here. Okay, so that's the beauty of using closure for this particular exercise, right? So here, and I think the code here is pretty self-explanatory for the most part. Perhaps this is a new concept for you guys. The rest param. The rest param allow us to have an infinite number of arguments within within an array. Okay, and here's the documentation regarding the rest param. Okay, so I want to capture the key, and I want to do a check here to so that if there are indeed values in the map, I want to get the key. Okay, and then down here in the result set, I want to call this callback function here. Okay, and again, I'm using the rest param here to get whatever that is passed into the function when we use this in our real code, right? When we utilize this Memoize function. And so we can store it inside the cache. Okay, and then we're going to set the key and the value that are unique because I'm using the map, right? So we don't have to go back and forth. Here is what I'm talking about. I'm setting that result set up so that every time we go back to get, well, every time we go back to get something new, for example, if I need some magical Greek fire that was blessed by Melisandre, I only need to make one trip to bring out all the Greek fire that I need, and I cache it here, right? So that every time I need Greek fire, I don't have to go back here to fetch some more. I already have it here, stage here, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. And of course, I'm returning the result set, okay? So that's all there is to it. It's, you know, there's not really that many lines of code here. And I just want to give you guys a more practical Memoize function to use besides the ubiquitous and cliche Fibonacci sequence. That's pretty much it. Good luck.